Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga, and today we are here to dive into a very juicy topic regarding Hunter x Hunter as we examine some of the greatest controversies in and around the series. Because everyone loves controversy, and nothing is immune from controversy. And to be clear, the definition of controversy is a prolonged public disagreement or heated discussion. Unfortunately, as such, this means that practically all internet discourse can technically be considered controversy because that's just how it works. We can't be having pleasant discussions on the internet. No. But I have been quite picky in selecting our topics here today though, just as I know that you are all quite picky in selecting whether or not you will subscribe to the New World Review, which will result in regular Hunter x Hunter content being uploaded straight into your YouTube feed. And I know you have high standards, but together, you and me and that button, I know we can meet them. So please do comment down below if you are a new member and I welcome you. But we are going to hop all aboard the controversy train with a fairly recent one, and it is the sensationalist accusation that Hiruya Oku, the author of Gantz, has some kind of grand feud with Yoshihiro Togashi, the author of Hunter x Hunter, and that Oku even hates Hunter x Hunter. The monster. But I say sensationalist because headlines like these really do not help convey any form of, what's the word? I think truth. That's the one, truth. Because on the 23rd of February 2020, Oku, seemingly unprovoked, decided to vent a little on the old Twitter, never a great idea. But the target of this venting was apparently Togashi, and Oku's message read as follows. When I was a young manga artist, someone other than my regular editor came to pick up my pages one evening. He just kept talking about how amazing Yu Yu Hakusho is. I said, I don't know it at all. And he ended up talking until the morning about how great what's-his-face Togashi is. I wanted to say, why don't you go tell this to Togashi himself? I don't know him, man. I know who Yasutaka Togashi is though. And hence, ever since, every now and then on the internet, you will hear that Hiruya Oku hates Togashi and Hunter x Hunter, which he did not even mention. He singled out Togashi's previous series, Yu Yu Hakusho, and it's not anything close to what he said regardless. As far as I care to interpret it, this seems like a very natural human response. Whenever someone, be it a friend or a colleague or just a stranger, tells you that you have to watch or you have to read something, the most common internal reply is going to be, get effed. I will decide what I watch and when. And when that person keeps harping on and on and on about the thing, you just start to hate it for no reason other than this person won't shut up about it. So this whole thing is definitely blown out of proportion. There is no beef between Oku and Togashi. It's just that at some stage in his young career, Oku got tired of hearing about Togashi. Although why he would choose to post this now, or then I guess in 2020, when it would have occurred years and years and years ago. I mean, when Yu Yu Hakusho was being published actually. Wow, that's a long time ago. So that's an interesting thought as to why you would post it now, but I suppose there may still be some residual resentment either towards Togashi, the editor, or both. Speaking of Togashi though, this man is far from immune from controversy, ever so far. He may be the author of Hunter x Hunter, but simultaneously he is probably one of, if not the most singular hated individuals by Hunter x Hunter fans. And I have to say, being a Hunter x Hunter fan can be very conflicting at times. And of course, we all know that this is because of the impossibly long hiatuses that the series frequently takes. In fact, at the time of this recording, we are in a hiatus right now. Not just any hiatus though, we are in the longest hiatus in the history of Hunter x Hunter publication. There has not been a new chapter published since December 2018. I will repeat that number, 2018. So it's been well over 2 years of no content, but this isn't the first extended hiatus that fans have endured. It's not even the second or the third, but in reality, it's probably like the 5th mega hiatus that this series has gone on. And this always divides Hunter x Hunter fans into 2 categories, hence controversy. One is that Togashi is lazy and doesn't care about the series anymore, and this then leads into a quite profound hatred of Togashi himself because of what I suppose we'll call the feeling of betrayal. The idea that he's just abandoned this story, his fans, and we don't like that, do we? On the flip side though, the Togashi defenders also come out in full force, usually empathetically identifying with his very legitimate medical issues and creative burnout, or simply taking the approach that Togashi doesn't owe you, the fans, anything. This is his series and he can do whatever he wants with it, and whenever he wants to do it. And if that means not finishing it, then he's not going to finish it. So look, go read something else. And personally, I kind of flip back and forth and in the middle of these two views. I mean, I do believe that an artist has complete right to their own work, and if you like that work, that's great, but it's not yours. On the other hand, I do also think it's a dick move to leave your doting audience just perpetually hanging. Because let's just explore this. Let's say the reason why you can't publish chapters is because of medical issues. That's fine, Togashi can't draw, we all understand that. So what we could do in this situation is hire another artist to draw the story. I'm sure that the publishing company Shueisha would pay for that artist in a heartbeat, because new Hunter x Hunter content is basically just a license to print money. It turns Shueisha into a mint. However, reportedly Togashi doesn't do that because of his desire to retain retain control of Hunter x Hunter himself. He has a pretty terrible track record of working with assistants, and he does want to do most things on his own, which I suppose is why we're in this situation. He won't allow anyone to finish Hunter x Hunter for him, even if it's just the art under his story directive, which you can say is selfish, and that's also fine. Like I said, I will defend an artist's right to maintain impetus over their work, but from the perspective of fans, it sucks. It really sucks. And I don't think that everyone should or even needs to be understanding about this issue. Togashi is being selfish to a degree, but that's his right, and fans have every right to be upset about that. And thus the issue of hiatus, ex-hiatus, will stretch on into all eternity. To continue though, let's do a controversy that's actually based in the series itself. We're going to take a rather well-known in practice controversy here by delving into the volatile topic of gender, specifically this time around the gender of one Neferpito. Now, Hunter x Hunter is a series where Togashi has never been afraid to stray away from the binary view of gender, all of which very much culminates in this character here, Neferpito, who is designed to be deliberately ambiguous and androgynous. As such, in videos I always refer to Pito as they, because saying he or she is quite frankly incorrect. However, whenever I do say they, I am inevitably met with a flood of comments from people, mostly insisting that Pito is female and should be referred to as a she. And look, I'm gonna be honest here, I suspect that most of these comments are from people who, may or may not have had a bit of a wank thinking about Pito and may not want to confront the reality of exactly what they've done. Let's start with an obvious indicator though, the name. Neferpito, like the rest of the royal guard, takes their name from an Egyptian god, Nefertem, as well as a character from a French children's book named Pito, the god being male and the character being female, thus immediately sending us into this non-binary realm. There are of course conflicting pieces of evidence within extended media of course, as the Hunter x Hunter Battle Collection does blatantly refer to Pito as female, whilst the Hunter x Hunter data book would imply the opposite and refers to Pito as male. In terms of the dubbed anime, Pito is also usually referred to as he by the other Chimera ants, although the anime does notably depict Pito as more feminine than the manga, where Pito often takes on more masculine aesthetics, but not exclusively. And it does change depending on the time. I mean, the Chimera ant arc took like 7 years to draw, so all of the characters do change shape over that time quite a bit. But all of this is to say that there is no answer. Togashi very purposely created Neferpito to exist outside of binary gender, but as with all things gender related, this will no doubt continue to be a lingering controversy within the fanbase, along with many other Hunter x Hunter characters such as Alaka, but we'll save that discussion for another time. Having brought up Pito at this stage, I'd be remiss not to mention the living controversy that is the entire Chimera ant arc itself. I'm not sure if I've ever encountered a story arc in anime or manga that has been quite as divisive as this, and for good reason, I suppose. All up, this singular arc spans about a quarter of the entire series and takes us on a grand tangent of characters and ideas, many of which go on to ask some of the biggest questions of life, the universe, and everything. That's not really what Hunter x Hunter was prior to this though, and the Chimera ant arc can be quite off-putting as a result. In my first watch through, I found it quite difficult to get into during the early stages because the pacing was slowed significantly, and in addition to that, the roles of our main protagonists were quite minimized, and just in general, there was never an end in sight. Retrospectively, my opinion is entirely different, and both rereading and rewatching the series comes with a lot of added value, like most of Hunter x Hunter really. However, the sheer bitterness I can encounter whenever the word ant is brought up is kind of shocking. I now have countless anecdotal examples of people who have just dropped the series during this part, which is a shame because I do think it ultimately ends up being one of, if not the best arc in the series, but at the same time I also can't necessarily blame the person who dropped it there. This is where Togashi's storytelling evolved to a place of unfamiliarity, and while that unknown can be quite exciting to some, it can be a huge gamble for others who may have started watching Hunter x Hunter because they wanted to see, a plucky young boy on his funny quest to find his father in this weird, wacky world. So it is a shock to the system, and while I think anyone who would call themselves a Hunter x Hunter fan either managed to overcome or embrace that shift, general anime fans can be quite a bit different, and this arc can become quite controversial. And you know who else is controversial? Hisoka. And not just his general character either, but his voice actor, Daisuke Namikawa. He's a bit of a scandal beacon, I suppose, making him quite perfect for the role. And Namikawa is actually a prolific presence in anime, which is why when news broke that he'd been having an affair with an employee at his agency for 3 years, well, this was pretty big stuff in Japan. However, the bigger issue may have been that this employee may have been significantly younger than him. Like, we're talking teenager level young. Not that that really matters in Japan, they have a much lower legal age of consent, but this did make for some quite big news. And yeah, look, admittedly, not really a Hunter x Hunter controversy, I guess. guess, but Hisoka in general does fit this bill quite nicely. I'm sure that at this stage, none of us can remember the amount of times that we've had the conversation of, is Hisoka a pedophile? It's one of the first things that my wife grappled with upon meeting him in her review series of Hunter x Hunter, and it always comes up inevitably when I meet new Hunter x Hunter fans. And I definitely lean on the side of nah. But Hisoka is walking a very dangerous tightrope in this series, like the talented circus performer he is. And I do genuinely know people who didn't even make it to the Chimera Ant arc in order to drop the series because they dropped it in response to Hisoka. Something I don't think I'll ever understand because he's one of the most compelling characters in all of media, and I'm honestly not sure if I would have pushed through Hunter x Hunter the beginning stages without him. But I guess the raging erection in response to a young child is maybe just a bit too much for some. And as for another controversy, here's one that most people should be familiar with, and its name is Kite. Or specifically, the changes that were made to Kite's story during the 2011 anime. To this day, this is probably one of the most complained about aspects of that adaptation, which is otherwise pretty damn stellar. But a decision was made to omit Kite's appearance in chapter 1 of the series. His story with Gon is cut from the first episode for pacing reasons, as well as the idea that they weren't sure if they would even get to adapting Kite's story during the Chimera Ant arc, so they did, the thing where you kick the can down the road and just hope you don't come across it again. But you will, because you foolishly kicked the can in the direction that you were walking. So when we did finally reach that can again, it presented a pretty massive problem, because Gon needed to have this immediate connection with a character that the anime audience had never seen or even heard of. For manga readers, this was like a long-awaited reunion. Sort of like if Shanks and Luffy were to ever meet again in One Piece, which I guess they kind of did that one time, but Luffy was unconscious. Doesn't matter, Hunter x Hunter now. But because the anime had not seeded Kite in episode 1, what resulted was this very clunky sort of flashback sequence that didn't tell the whole story, and had a bit of a retcon kind of feel, as if the anime were trying to rewrite Gon's past in front of our eyes, simply in order to insert this guy thing. And manga readers were and still are pretty furious, or at least a little bit miffed, as manga readers often are, because this is what we do. And anime watchers, well, they just kind of had to live with this weird character who would end up becoming the emotional core of Gon's entire character arc, which eventually culminated in his removal from the series. Kite is pretty important. And to this day, yeah, anime watchers will tell me that they missed nothing with 2011 Kite, but the problem is, if you've missed out on something, you probably don't know what it is you're missing out on, because you missed it, so how could you know? So of course you'd just say that all is well, because that's the only experience you know, and you liked it enough, I guess. Sadly though, this aspect of Kite is undeniably poorly handled. Yeah, it did get the information and some of the emotion across, but nowhere near what it should have been able to do. And as such, this is yet another source of delicious Hunter x Hunter controversy. But what do you guys think? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, or even join my Discord server. And if you're keen for some more Hunter x Hunter content, then please do go and check out some of my other videos, or even subscribe to the channel for regular, yes, regular Hunter x Hunter glory delivered straight into your YouTube feed. But for now, this has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.